Hello everybody, welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today we are going to be doing a fast and loose watercolor painting geared towards the theme of a spooky ruins, church, Halloween theme. Today is October 29th, so kind of getting in the mood for Halloween. If you're watching the video after Halloween, just think of it as just spooky ruins. So, in front of me I have a quarter sheet of Stonehenge Aqua. It's 140 pound cold press 100% cotton paper. I just saturated with the large hake brush. And I didn't pour any fresh paint out on the palette, so I'm just squirting it with some water. And we'll jump right into it, and as we need to add paint, we'll do so. One thing, with anything like this, use Google as your friend. Just type in old ruins or something like that, and there'll just be a multitude of different images to select. And immediately you can just start getting ideas, see different structural patterns, etc. And you could say that this painting will kind of be in the same vein as the Gothic paintings, the Romanticism paintings that I have videos of from earlier in the year. So I'm going to grab some raw sienna. Just going to establish just a little bit of a background. It's a little wet and wet. I don't really have much planned out. Like I said, Google, I literally just typed in old ruins, glanced at it for just a second, and I'm jumping right into painting. So that's some raw sienna, and let's put some light red oxide. Just a late evening or early morning type feel. I'm thinking about here will be the horizon line, and let me grab a little bit of ultramarine into this mix. It's grayish purple here, a kind of dreary feeling. Also seems to have quite a hot, hazy look to it, and could probably be applied to a Turner-esque type painting, which I haven't done one of those videos in a while. I'll have to get around to doing that. Let's see. I'm going to establish a horizon line, but I don't think I'm going to put many trees in it. I just want to give myself just a little basis to work over. I don't have any sketches or anything, and this will probably wind up being completely hidden. But I do need to come up with a compositional idea. What I'm thinking is, and here's something I'm kind of just glancing at, a ruinous building to the side that's very close and high up. We'll then see what else we're working with here. So this building will come in and recede back, just blocking it in, massing in that shape. Another ruin back here, taller ruin here. I believe this would be called a, there's a compositional shape, I think it's like a steel mill idea, where, oh, I think it's actually the reverse of a steel mill, where a heavier object is near the center and a lighter object is pushed further away to balance things out. Sorry if that confuses you and that makes no sense, because I'm doing the exact opposite of what that compositional shape is supposed to be called for. I think this would just be more of a triangular one where the eye leads here. Just mass in a little bit, so I have a little bit of idea what's going on. Sporadic ruins, maybe a closer one. Hindsight, I might get rid of that. We'll see. And that was done with ultramarine and light red oxide, just kind of map out. You want a little bit of trees in the background, a little bit too much ultramarine there, still too much. Want more purple. Here's going to be a big building. All right, so as you can see, I'm kind of massing in shapes and ideas. Here, I am now going to start doing some darks, and I think I'm going to also lift inside where windows would be. But I'm going to use ultramarine and burnt sienna. My mat is going to be here, but I'm going to go off the edge and do arches. This is where a preparatory sketch would help with linear perspective and getting the lines correct. This angle is going to be sharper. The edge will be here. We're leading the eye here. This guy has to be much sharper and receding. Okay. The light source I'll have coming from back here, so I'll kind of cast a shadow across. And the right side of these objects will be darker. Just a little bit of texture for the ground. All right, so it's kind of coming together. But we do need to get more serious with the shapes and whatnot. So I'm going to put some windows. I'm just using the paper towel and lifting up there. And I'll even lift the illusion of light coming through those. And they don't have to be glass windows. It could just be the stone structure remains of what was there. I'm grabbing the squirrel mop just so I could kind of pinpoint some colors in. Here's a bigger concentration of burnt sienna, and ultramarine. I'm going to feed that in. I'm just going to play around. My goal here, I don't really do buildings often, so I'm not doing them often. It's often just relearning and experimenting every time I do them. So my idea here is that I don't want it to be a flat mass. I want to have texture there, so it's illusion that there's bricks and shadows and cracks. So using color combinations that'll push back and forth between warm and cool, hopefully I can achieve that. And I'm constantly coming back to that angle. These guys are going to come. Yep, so you see how I'm working with that, I even drew that line right there. Give these buildings some straight shape. Let me pause just for a second. All right, so sorry about that. Okay, so coming here, I might do a little bit of a building closer in this region, more directly facing us, and then we have these guys that are sitting back some. And we'll give this guy a pointed shape. All right, so I'm just working with the burnt sienna and ultramarine and building these objects up. And that's just the cats climbing all over and exploring. And a little arch in here. And we'll use paper towel to lift out some lights in here. I think I'm going to put a very light, bigger building in the back. Now, I did use water just now and go against everything that I said with going wet and wet, not using too much water when you're going wet. When you're painting into a wet area, you don't want to use too much water on the brush, and that's exactly what I did right here, which can create cauliflower effect. So I'm going to push this around and I don't know if I want this mask to be a big hill, a big building. I kind of just jumped into it and changed the composition. Let's see, what do I want to do with this? I apologize for the lack of direction in this one. I wonder if I should make this video a two-parter. And this building will be in front. Maybe let these be big trees. We'll experiment with that. Okay, so we'll still have our steeple here. That out along it. bigger structure. That'll come using that line. So we have a line here, bring that here. It's kind of just pushing, almost like finger painting, just pushing it around, creating this image. Let's see. Let's see. Add some contour. So these lines are going to go radially. And I'm just adding pigment, just intensifying that, building up the darks. I don't know why I washed off the brush, because I'm using the exact same colors. Make that dark. Building up that spire. Building added on. Illusion of buildings. We've used a lot of the rigger right here, so let's move back to the squirrel the hake, and we'll use that for a textured effect. And we're going to put people on this street. I think that'll make it interesting. So we'll keep everything soft. So I don't know if it'll be so much spooky as it'll be a ruinous type scene with people amongst it. Lift out some windows. Okay, so I'm going to pause it for a second and dry off. All right, after drying off, I was thinking that it could kind of go in two directions. We could kind of make it a city scene with a lot of people, or we could make it kind of exploring ruins with just, you know, 2 or 3 people kind of walking amongst it, and their small size would give weight to the immensity of these objects. I'm just taking the rigger, using that same dark mixture just to add some accents while I kind of ramble and put that thought together out loud. I also think that simply taking a scene like this, for example, if you had a corner market or something like that in your town, a street corner, and just working from that photo, kind of wet and wet, putting in the shapes of things in this kind of color scheme, and then from there adding figures, would probably very easily give you a downtown view, a corner store view, a market view in your town. And that might be something to do, to take a photo and work from something like that. So I got to remember to do that, keep that in mind for a future video. That's the kind of good thing about just experimenting, is that you never know what's gonna come up. I mean, we're starting off kind of Halloween-y, was the theme and ruinous, but it went here. So I apologize that the beginning of the video is anyway misleading at this point. So let's get some ultramarine and burnt sienna. Now, one thing that I've always read, and I think hopefully I'm quoting it correctly, is that when putting people in a scene, you want to keep their kind of eye line level. So let's looking here. Why don't we make this entranceway to the church dark? We'll bring our eye to this. So it's kind of going against logic of having the darker object in the past, but I remember somebody recently, or past few months, posting on a painting page saying, remember, you could have darker objects in the distance. You know, usually we just use darker objects as kind of like a little bit of a cheating tool to get things to come closer using atmospheric aerial perspective. Anyway, let's add some steps. Let's add a big old gate. You might want to use a darker pigment depending on how it dries for you. I always complain about how I have a hard time getting super darks with ultramarine and burnt sienna. Okay, we have that there, and we'll put people on these steps. And we could do a few people on it. We could do a funerary procession. Let me pause for a second and dry this off so we can see how this reads. Okay, standing up and drying that off, I wanted to add some more things to it. So I think we may benefit from a few more people or objects in this range. They are super small that I put in here, and it does put things into a bigger perspective and making these things seem larger. However, they're so small in person that they're just not reading as people for me. So why don't we experiment real quick? Let me do a quick Google search. And buggy. Horse and buggy, just to get an idea about the general shape of them. That the front carriage, the overhang. It's kind of a little dead center left to right, but that's okay. Doing kind of a horse and buggy. Okay, the explorers, they're coming to this area to check it out. The back of the horse. upper back, kind of shoulder. Grab a little bit of raw sienna in here, get some variation of color in this horse. Neck, and then the head. So I'm kind of just dotting in, playing around. So it helps to have either a laptop or a Kindle or something nearby, a tablet, so you can kind of do quick reference. Oh, that's way too ultramarine. This object's looking a little too flat, so I'm just trying to add a little bit of variation to it. The horse is of course gonna has the shadow. Maybe a little for that. A little Payne's gray in there. Guys, be nice. Moving away, just making some gestural marks. We have people walking up here to look. Maybe it might help to have a person right in this region. Of course, you could always take a little piece of paper and hold a person there, but I'm just gonna go for it. Let's just do a quick search for a man in top hat. Just see if any old-timey stuff comes up. Of course, no like full profile stuff came up, so that was not helpful. Hey, guys. Stop. Top hat and a cane or a little swoosh. He's standing here, he's looking. You could let that read as a cane or as a rifle or something like that. Just play around and let it just take place. Probably even add a little parasol. Ooh, should we do that? Let's see, let's pause it for a second. So I dried it off and I figured while I was drying it, we should just leave it like this. There's a whole lot more things I can do with it, such as adding more figures around it, changing the narrative. Mentioned parasol, make it more leisurely walk. Could add more horse and buggies, but I think I'm not saying I invented this at all. What I'm gonna say is I think I inadvertently, for myself, stumbled on an interesting thing that I want to explore, where these really soft, wet and wet buildings, and then more crisp figures, horse and buggies, things like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to follow along if you ever follow along with any of these, and anybody ever offers to buy anything from you, feel free to sell it. You have my express permission to sell anything you follow from any of these tutorials. Please consider liking, subscribing, and following. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. And I hope you all have a great day and a happy Halloween. Be safe. Bye.